Close to pay
I'm a New
places. Yeah.
Yorker. You travel an hour to the doctor. I mean, you live on Long Island. You go into Manhattan to the doctor because they're allegedly better, or you go on the South Shore, so you go to the North Shore. I mean, even from Long Beach to Rockville Center was 45 minutes. Who is it, Hakeem?
What?
Who?
For whom do you have yours?
My mother
So why come you didn't make tikkun?
made a kid a Shabbat. You took off.
Uh-huh. Okay, nice.
Ah. For the roll.
Amen.
Okay, let us go through our learning sponsors. Isaac and Evelyn Blachor, in memory of his sister, Chaya Rachel Bas Isser, friends of Leonie Meiserman, Leah Sabra Bas Konef Zundel, friends of Mela Skotsky, Moshe Zelig ben Mordechai, Martin Lippman and family, in memory of his wife, Malka Chana Bas Pinchas, friends of Herb Jeremiah, Tzvi Ben Zev, friends of Sam Coleman, Shmuel Ben Yaakov, friends of Gideon Lazinski, Mordechai Shlomo Ben Meir. A month of learning by the friends and students of Rabbi Shalom Kornblum, Rav Shalom Ben Mordechai. Aaron and Mel Haller, in memory of her father, Yosef Eliezer Ben Tzvi Hirsch. Mark Scher, in memory of his father, Mordechai Ben Menachem Manas. Mark Linder, in memory of his nephew, Eretz Paul Ben Sirlis. Susan and Ron Podolsky, in memory of her father, Yisim Kabunam Ben Yeshua. Michael and Judith Poretsky, in memory of his mother, Rachel Bas Avram. Susan and Ron Podolsky, again in memory of her mother, Chaya Bas Avram Dov. B. Pizer, in memory of her father, Yiskar Dov Ben Shmuel. A week of learning by Judy Iger, in memory of her husband, Aaron Ben Shlomo Michael. Judy Iger, in memory of her son, Anshel Yitzchak Ben Aharon. Jack Gilman, in memory of his brother, Zev Yosef Ben Yitzchak. Sharon Glass, in memory of her mother, Chaya Bas Avram Baruch. Today is the 25th. We have no individual days.
So I was wondering, at the beginning of today's Gemara, should you marry both the woman and her daughter so you Yotze B'Kol HaDeos?
But you married a woman and her daughter?
We'll see in the Gemara in a second. He's making trying to make a joke. Okay. Interesting, by the way, that the Gemara here uses the Aramaic word and not the and not a Hebrew term. Okay, but that's just an aside.
Well, Jewish girls don't.
Oh yeah, sure. That you never found one.
Do you know how hard I look?
Okay. All right.
Whatever Mordechai says in this Gemara in Sota, he's a bucky, and I go with.
Okay. I also want to indicate that part of our learning should be for a refuah shlema for Yechezkel Halevi ben Sarah Rifka. Okay. What? Harvey Greenberg.
Oh,
He's having a procedure tomorrow.
Who's that?
Harvey Greenberg is having a procedure tomorrow. Okay. So we are really starting on the very bottom, the last line of Kaf Vav Amud Beis. All right, and Mar Shmuel. Okay. Now, this is having discussed a whole variety of sexual situations. Okay. Okay. Clearly to try to clarify what particularly kind of act would be such that the woman would be subject to the sota ceremony, examination. You're looking for the light in there, Erwin? That's all right. I looked for it yesterday. It's got to be a separate switch. Okay. Good morning. Okay. So that's the case. Anyway, so we're now, okay. So so since we're already talking about the fact that is the Gemara, I'm going to make the connection and then we'll move in. Okay, since the Gemara seems to be asking the question, is so much of this dependent upon the husband? Okay, if that's the case, is it feasible then to assume that the husband really has let's call it priorities, or can it be recommended to the husband a hierarchy? I'm going to use that word, okay? A hierarchy of women to marry, okay? Of course, we all want to know that ideally the man would marry a woman that's from Midos and things like-
Midos
and
Sneas.
and all of
father's
those.
got millions.
Well, I don't know about that. Some of us don't always get to that point,
We're not that lucky.
okay? We can be satisfied with Midos and Sneas and things like that sometimes. Okay, Amar Shmuel. So Shmuel is going to come now and give a recommendation. Okay, who should a man marry?
No, he's not recommending.
You don't
He's
think
saying
so?
who's permitted.
Okay,
Because
I'm not,
I mean, you can't recommend
you can't recommend?
in this case.
When you get married.
Well, he's recommending that he wants somebody to marry someone with Sneas. Isn't that a recommendation?
Yeah, that's a record.
Okay, so that's my, all right, so Amar Shmuel, Yisa Adam, what? We say? Doma. Okay, no, I
Oh,
haven't.
you have Doma. Yeah, no, first one's
Right,
Doma.
Doma. Okay, so I want to just point out Doma here is actually an Aramaic word, not a Hebrew word.
Same as Zona.
Okay, but it is a woman of ill repute, rumored to be involved with promiscuity. Okay. All right, Va'al Yisa bat Doma, but he should not marry the daughter of such a woman, right? Shezo ba'amiti pak shera, okay, because at least the background of this woman who's currently promiscuous, you know what her family origin is, what her yichus is. Vizo, but the daughter, ba'amiti papsula, may come from a negative or impure stock. Okay?
Yeah, we
Because
can't prove she's a
right, we
Maseres.
can't, right, we do not know whether the progeny of this woman is from actually her husband or actually from her paramour. And so given that situation, okay, it could very well be that she is from Tipap Sula. Okay, and the Gemara is now going to bring up a challenge to Shmuel's statement, for which we'll then get into further discussion. Okay, Rabbi Yochanan Amar. However, Rabbi Yochanan says, Yisa Adam bat Doma, that it's better for a man to marry the daughter of such a, let's call it the woman of ill repute, promiscuous woman.
Woman of the night, they call it.
Well, I don't
No,
know.
that's a Vadai.
Okay.
This woman is only
In
talking.
other words,
Oh,
it's
okay.
talked about. And she doesn't have the title of a zona, the legal
The
definition.
Russian horse says that she's a dome.
Right.
Okay. All right. Right. Va'ayisa doma. Rabbi Yochanan reverses it and says the opposite. Better that he marry the daughter of such a
The
woman
lady.
than marry the woman herself. Right? Shezo omedet b'cheskat kashrut. Why? He says that this one is in a kosher yichus, kosher status.
The daughter.
Okay,
Because
being,
she's
we're going to get to it in a
Tsanua.
second. Okay, in other words, there is no rumors about her per se. Okay, and we're going to come up with another reason as well. V'zo eina omedet b'cheskat kashrut. And the other one, the woman herself, is not in a status of being a kosher yichus, kosher woman of good repute. Okay? So now the Gemara wants to question here in this case. Meitive, we challenge with the following braita. No se adam doma. We say that a man marries a woman of ill repute, a promiscuous rumorly promiscuous. Amar Rava, says
You need
Rava.
to get a room.
Okay.
That's
All
why
right.
she's rumorly.
Amar Rava, says Rava, V'tispara, and it seems logical. No selechat chila. Are we talking about marrying her initially? Ella im nasa, but rather we should reword it and say, were he to marry such a woman, okay, who then there were rumors of her promiscuity, Tane nami bas domer, then we also should teach,
We're changing it already.
okay, then we should also teach it applying to the daughter. Okay? In other words, the daughter may have learned from the mother, okay, her behavior and therefore follows that kind of behavior. Okay, so how can we be sure that the daughter herself, okay, is of cheskas kashrut? Okay, vehilchata. However, the law is as follows: Isa adam bat doma, that a man, okay, would marry a woman who is a bas doma, the daughter of such a promiscuous woman, va'al yisa doma, and not marry the woman herself. Why? The Tani Rav Tachlifa Bar Ma'arava, because as was taught by Rabbi Tachlifa, okay, from the West, okay, Kame the Rabbi Abahu, and before Rabbi Abahu, Isha Mizana Baneha Sherim, okay, a woman who commits acts of prostitution, nevertheless,
Adultery.
okay, nevertheless, her children are valid. Why is that the case, says this writer? Rov be'ilot achar haba'al. Because we go by rov, and we assume that the majority of times that she has relations, they are with her husband. Okay? And that he would have produced the progeny. Okay? Okay, so what happens? By Rav Amram asks the follows: Haita prutsa bioter mahu. What happens? So it seems here that we have to say that prutsa bioter is one step more promiscuous than a doma.
Yeah, here she not only has rumors, but she
But-
wears short skirts and uncovers her
Well,
hair.
I would have gone a little different definition. But the point is that it's more than just rumored, okay? It's very strong, okay? Implications that she is,
Visual.
okay? Mahu, what's the situation? Okay, aliba the amar, eini sham mit aberet, ella samuch levista. Okay, so we're going to ask the following. Do we hold like the one who says that a woman does not become pregnant unless it's close to the time of her flow? Okay, let's put it that
Just,
way,
yeah, be it just before.
right? Is that the question? Lo tabaila, you wouldn't have to ask her, right? The lo yada ba, v'lo mintar ba, okay? You wouldn't have to ask the question because the husband would not necessarily know, and he wouldn't protect her from doing such acts. Okay, ki tebayalach. Okay, when might you ask this question and therefore assume the possibility that the children could be mamzerim? Okay, aliba demanda amar eini shamit aberet ela samuch letfilatam. But rather the one who holds that a woman does not become pregnant except when it's the time that she actually has goes to the mikvah and then is most fertile, right? Okay, what's the situation then? Kevan yadaba, because he would know that naturi mintarla, and he would refrain her. He would watch her, right? Okay, from such other acts. Odilma, or perhaps kevan de prutza bioter, or because we see that she's extremely promiscuous. Lo, maybe not. Teku. Okay, we don't come to an answer. Okay, all right. Now we come back to our Mishnah. which was the last section of the Mishnah where it talked about the Beis Din, right? Advocating or representing individual men in terms of giving a warning. Okay. All right. Tanu Rabbanan says the Braita. Ish. Okay. It says man. Ma Talmud Lomar. Okay. In other words, the pasuk would have been sufficient had it simply said the word ish once, but our pasuk has the word ish twice. Okay. Ish, but it says the word man. In other words, each person, in a sense. The Rabbot, Eshet Cheresh, the Eshet Shoteh, the Eshet Sha'amum. Okay, it comes then to include a man who is significantly deaf, one who is deranged, one who is mentally ill. Okay, V'shalach ba'ala Medinat Hayam. Okay, and her husband went on a journey, business trip. Okay, notice, remember, by the way, that was not included in our original mission. Okay, all right. V'shahaya chabush b'beit ha'asurim, and that he is imprisoned, in prison. All right, particularly, by the way, I think one of them, either Atzma or particularly made the point about the issue being in the foreign, a Gentile prison. Okay.
There's no visitation rights.
Well, besides that, okay. Shebeitin mikanin lahem, that the Beis Din then is the one that puts forward a warning for them, the poslan mikatubatan, in order to nullify the availability of a ketubah for the woman. Okay. Yachol af lahashkotan. We may have thought that by doing so, this also would require the woman to go through the sota examination. Talmud Lomar, but the pasuk says, "Vehevi ha'ish et ishto." Okay, in the section of Bamidbar dealing with sota, that the man, namely the husband, must bring her. Right? Rabbi Yossi Omer, says Rabbi Yossi, af lahashkota. No, he says, the warning of the Beis Din, according to Rabbi Yossi, also implies that one can bring the wife to the sota examination. Okay, well, how? Well, he doesn't say that here. Ba'ala mi beit ha'asurin yashkena, because ultimately he could still bring the woman, okay, to his local Beis Din, to Yerushalayim, etc., to require her to drink. Okay. So Gemara asks, "B'mai kamiflage?" What are they arguing about? Rabbanan Savrei, the rabbis are of the opinion, Ba'inin Vikina Vehevi, that because the way the pasuk is worded, we have an association between giving the warning and bringing her. One is connected with the other. Okay, we'll call it a hekesh. Okay, Rabbi Yossi Savar, but Rabbi Yossi holds lo ba'inin v'kina v'hevi, that he does not hold by such a hekesh, and it doesn't mean that the husband is the only one by warning her that she could be brought to drink. It implies, as Michael was suggesting, that the Beis Din themselves also could imply that she would have to go. Tanu Rabbanan. Okay, now we have a new bright, and the new bright that says as follows: Asher tisteh isha tachet isha. Okay, such that a woman goes astray while under the authority or domain of her husband. Lahakish ish leisha veisha leish. This tells us there's a connection between the behavior of the husband to the wife and that of the wife to the husband. Okay, and this I thought was a rather interesting section in the Gemara to clarify. Lamai hilchet. What do we mean when we say the law is that there's a parallel in a sense? Amar Rav Sheshet, says Rav Sheshet, Kashem she'im hu someh lo haya mashke, the same way that if he is blind, all right, he cannot bring her to drink. Dichtiv, why? V'ne'elam me'enei isha, Why? Because it's hidden from the eyes of the husband. Kachi, that's the situation. Im haita suma, if right,
The ladies.
if the woman is the blind person, lo haita shota, she would not have to drink. Okay? Second example, Rav Ashi Amar as follows: Kashem shachigeret v'gidemet lo haita shota. The same way, if one is lame, okay, or they're missing missing hands here in particular. But I was wondering if it could have been missing any other limb.
Well,
Okay,
specifically,
we're
the
gonna
pasuk
get-
says her hands.
Well,
So
yes,
she
but
has to have two hands.
well, yes and no. And I'm going to tell you, I don't disagree, but I want to say missing other limbs as well.
Well, that
because-
makes her a chiger.
Right,
It's
I
covered
understand.
already.
No, chigir may mean she has the limb, but simply
She can't
limps.
walk.
Okay, can't stand, as we're going to see in a moment. Okay, that's why I say somebody who's chigir, they walk with a limp. That's a little different than saying missing the limb. Okay, so shechigeret v'gidemet. Okay, so it walks with a limp or is lame or gidemet, and here particularly missing hands. We're going to see why we give that explanation, which I'm comfortable with, but I want to just furthermore, okay, or maybe missing a limb. Lo haita shota, she wouldn't drink. Why? Dichtiv, as we go to the top of the next Amud. Why? Because it says during the process of the sota examination, ve'emid hakohen et ha'isha lefnei Hashem v'natan kapeha. Okay, that she stands before, right? The Kohen makes her stand before, okay, Hashem, and as she's there by the gate of Nicanor, okay, and she, right, and he gives her this basket, we said, that she has to hold in her hands. So one shot, okay, is clearly if she's missing hands, she can't hold the basket. I only simply thought as well, since the pasuk says ve'emid, that she has to stand, okay, it's more than just being lame.
That's covered
It's-
by the chiger.
Okay,
That behemoth, she's standing, excludes the figure. I mean,
Right.
that's,
you might argue that. I just wasn't convinced.
That's a simple shot. I mean, you may be correct that you can expand it.
Right,
But
I'm
the
not,
simple
no, I'm
shot-
not saying that it has to be that. I'm just saying initially it's the one, but I think it's possible to the other as well. Okay, because lame is not the same. If somebody's lame, that they limps, okay, is not exactly the same. Right? Anyway, what happens? Kappa.
Rabbi?
Yeah.
Today we have what are known as claws where they can make hands look like hands. Would that be sufficient?
No,
Ah.
no, that's not her hand.
No, in other words, it says vinatan kappa in her hand.
Okay, so now it becomes part of the hand, just like I wear glasses, it becomes part of my eyes.
I wouldn't say that.
No,
it's-
you could not, if you were younger, you could not check somebody for tsaras because you have to use your own eyes.
I know that, hold on.
Okay, so it's the same here too. She
How
has
do
to
I- how
use
do you know
her
that?
hand, not
How
an
do
eye.
you know that?
Because he's a bucky in all of this.
You're
Okay.
assuming that's the way you're.
No,
approaching it.
I'm
It doesn't mean
not
that.
We don't have a
it's-
fisherman I looked it up.
Right. Okay,
Anyway, he's.
look
supposed
at the
to
last
eyes.
Tosfos
okay.
on Kaf Zion Omidal.
In any case, I don't think it would be, okay, that it would work. Kachu, that's the situation. Im hayachiger ogidem lo hayamashka. Were she to be lame, or were she to be missing a hand, or other, right? She would not be required to drink. Okay? Now, I just want to point out as we go with the next citation, Mar Bar Rav Ashi. Okay, now what's important to me was the fact that Rav Ashi, remember, was one of the last of the
Ravina and Ravashi.
Ravina Rav
So, and
Ashi.
This is his kid. So
Well,
he
not
has
just
to
that.
be-
So it's the next generation okay? And there's a whole discussion both among traditional scholars and academic scholars, okay, as to what degree, okay, when you cite somebody like that, okay, it may have been that he was old enough to participate in the discussions when his father was still alive, or if it's another generation, to what degree then the editing of the Gemara continued. Okay, but in any case, what we see, he wants to give another possibility that he's adding. Kashem she'ilemet, right? What if she's mute? Lo hayta shota, she would not drink. Dichtiv v'amra ha'isha amen amen, that she has to be able to say and respond to the call. Kach, that's the situation.
So this is the other verse
So-
way around now. If the husband is,
Right, if there are certain situations with the husband, it would exempt her from going through that sota examination. Im haya ilem lo haya mashke. Okay, all right, and there hadrana lach arusim. So we finish, if you're using Art Scroll Volume 1, okay, we now are going to go to Volume 2. Okay. So when we get to this new piece, the entire rest of the Amud is Mishnah. Okay, and we're going to stop today at the bottom of the Amud before going into the Gemara. Okay, all right. So has everybody got a text? Okay, everybody okay? Yes, sir. All right. Okay. All right. Kashem shehamayim bodkim ota, kachamayim bodkin oto. The same way the water examines her, it examines him. Okay. Shanam, what?
no, the husband.
The husband.
If he
The
was
husband.
fooling around,
The husband.
then he
Shanam,
also.
right. Shanama, why? It says uvau uvau. We have a gzera shava of the word uvau. It comes in, it enters. The same way it will enter her, the water, okay, and causes her to have a physical reaction. So likewise, we have the word uva'u regarding him. Kashem sha'asura laba'al, kach asura labo'eh. And thus we can also say the same way she is forbidden to her husband, okay, assuming that she's found guilty, okay, the water is going to impact on her.
Prior to this.
Okay, so likewise, she is prohibited to the paramour. Okay, Shana Amar. Why? Because there we also have another Gezerah Shava, Nitma'ah v'nitma'ah. Okay, we have that it
We actually
comes
mentioned
Tmeah,
this Mishnah earlier.
right, and Tmeah, right? Divrei Rabbi Akiva. Now, what we need to know, by the way, is as we go through this Mishnah, we're going to see that it uses the phrase bo bayom. Bo bayom is a, so to speak, technical term to tell us, as we're told, that at the time when the Sanhedrin were unhappy with Rabban Gamliel's leadership, they voted him out and they put Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah in. Eventually, there was a compromise between Rabban Gamliel and Rabbi Yoshua, and they reinstated Rabban Gamliel, okay, which, if I remember the Gemara there, they were both right, going to be involved. One would preach 3 days a week, 3 Shabbases, one would preach 1, okay. The Gemara, but what's important for us to keep in mind is that on that day, there was a reestablishment of enrollment, okay, in the yeshiva, right? And more students were able to come in. As a result of that, we're told by the Gemara itself that numerous halachas were discussed. This is the basis for Gemara Eduyot, okay? And our Mishnah is going to continue primarily focused on statements made by Rabbi Akiva on that day. At the bottom of the daf, we'll see somebody else is brought in as well, but we'll see a number of this. So here we now see that since this drasha is based by Rabbi Akiva. They're going to bring in a number of other statements that drashas that he made that day, some of which are accepted, some of which are challenged. Okay, so what happens? Amar Rabbi Yoshua, Kachaya Doresh Zechariah ben Hakatzav. That was how, Zechariah ben Hakatzav gave the drasha for Asur Baal Asur Boel. Rabbi Omer, however, Rabbi had a slightly different drasha, but comes to the same results. Shnei pa'amim ha'amurim b'parasha. 2 times in this section, we find the word nitma'a ve'nitma'a, echad labal ve'echad labo'el. Now, bo bayom, on that particular day, when Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah became the head of the yeshiva, they opened up the enrollment, and we get a number of testimonies, right? Darash Rabbi Akiva, he gave another example, another statement. Uklei cheres asher yipol mehem el tocho, ko asher betocho yitma. Citing the pasuk then that any earthenware vessel, if something like, say, I'm going to give an example of a sheretz falls into it, it is going to contaminate all which is inside.
Without touching.
Now, this means that it contaminates either the clay cheres itself, and then that is going to contaminate what's inside.
That's correct. That's the way it works.
That's the way it works. So in other words, so we're going to see how that
but
is.
It's only the inside.
Yeah, how we're going to see how that is darshan down. Namely, Eino Omer Tomei. Why? Because it does not say in the pasuk becomes Tomei, Ela Yitma, but will become Tomei.
No,
Namely,
will cause.
We'll get to it. So no, but wait a second. He says Yitma, but he wants to read it as Yitamei.
It will
become.
Right.
It will cause.
Yes, it will become Tomei. What happens? L'tamei acherim. Therefore, it's going to render other things tamei. Lamed al kikar sheni shemitamei et shlishi. From this, we can learn that a loaf that is sheni l'tuma can convey tuma to another object to make it a shlishi tuma. Amar Rabbi Yoshua. And Rabbi Yeshua
and Rabbi Akiva holds that's even by chulin, which we don't
consecrate. So thank you. So what happens? Rabbi Yeshua responds to this exposition by Rabbi Akiva. Mi yigale afar me'enecha Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai. Who could remove the dust? In other words, you're dead already. You're in the grave. You're buried. But halavai that you could understand and see this kind of an exposition, right? Shahayita Omer, because you used to say, Atid dor acher, letaher kikar shlishi, she'ein lo mikra min haTorah, shahu tameh. Vahala, Rabbi Akiva, Talmidcha, mevi lo mikra min haTorah, shahu tameh. In other words, you were used to say that in the future there would come someone in the generation that would be able to
take a tahor,
take something tahor, and make it a item that is impure. And see, Rabbi Akiva, your student, has brought this verse, from the Torah, and he's been able to present that the item is tamei. Shnei Amar, why? Because he bases it on the pasuk in the Torah, Kol Asher B'Tocho Yitma, or he's, as he read it, Yitameh. Second example, Bo Bayom Darash Rabbi Akiva, another exposition on the part of Rabbi Akiva. Now we're talking about land around an area.
around the
Levium cities.
So we're going to talk particularly in a moment about that. Umidotam michutz la'ir et pa'at kedma alpayim ba'ama v'gomer. So the pasuk in Bamidbar there wants to focus on the fact that the tribe of Levi did not get a land portion like other tribes. They got a number of cities. From those cities, it was also said that a certain amount of land surrounding the city itself, namely 2,000 amma, okay, was granted them.
So they could farm it.
Well, we don't see that just yet. We will get to that. Okay, so what happens? That's one pasuk. However, there's another pasuk that says umikre echad amar, and another pasuk says mikir ha'ir vechutza. Okay, from the walls of that Levitical city going out, right? Elef amah savi. There should be 1,000 amah around it. So now we have a problem. Okay, one pasuk says 2,000 amah, one pasuk says 1,000 amah, right? So the Gemara wants to point that out to us. Efshar lomar elef amah. It's not possible to say it should, I'm going to say limited to 1,000 amah. Why? Shikvar ne'amar apayim amah. Because we already have another pasuk that says it's 2,000 amah. V'efshar lomar alpayim amah. And it's impossible to say that it's limited to 2,000 amah. Why? Shikvar ne'amar elef amah. Because we already have a pasuk that says 1,000 amah. Ha, Ketzad, how do we resolve this machloket? Okay, this difference. Elef amah migrash, va'alpayim amah tchum Shabbat. So one explanation is you have land of 1,000 amah that is vacant, okay, cleared land, and then you have another 2,000 amah beyond that.
Another 1,000 beyond
Okay,
that.
that is the marks the Tchum Shabbat. Okay, Rabbi Eliezer, Beno Shel Rabbi Yossi Haglili Omer, he's going to give a different pshat, a different explanation. Elef amah migrash. There you have 1,000 amah, that's clear field. Ve'alpayim amah and 2,000 amah sadot ukramim. That's for growing vegetation, plant orchards, etc., etc. Okay. Okay. Now we get to another example of a exposition. Bo bayom darash Rabbi Akiva. Again, Rabbi Akiva. Az yashir Moshe uvnei Yisrael et hashira hazot l'Hashem vayamru leimu. So they're citing again from Shira, this pasuk, and they're going to explain it as follows, or different, actually two different views. Okay, what does it mean, lay more? That seems to be superfluous, that phrase. Okay, lay more, when it's said, right? Because she'ein tamud lamar lay more, there is no necessity for the Torah to have included the word lay more here. It seems superfluous. Umat tamud lomar lay more. So then what do we understand from that phrase? Okay. Milamed shahayu Yisrael onin shira acharav shel Moshe al kol davar v'davar kikorin et hahalel. Okay. We say that what it is that they answered Moshe verse after verse, okay, just as we read the Hallel. And the section there, Ashir el Hashem ki ga'agah. Right? Lakach ne'amar le'mor. And that was the reason we have the word in the pasuk. Now a different explanation. Rabbi Nehemiah Omer, he gave a different view. Kikorin et Shema, like we read the Shema in the Gemara in Brachos. You may remember it says Pores al Shema. Okay, that language meant that one would recite the Shema, and then there was going to be a response, a verbal response, okay, and then they would continue, okay? Velo ki korin et hahalel, and not the way we read the Hallel, okay? Okay, now we get to another exposition, not by Rabbi Akiva, but by Rabbi Yoshua ben Hyrcanus. Okay? Who, remember, by the way, was the student of Rabbi Akiva. Okay? Bo bayom darash Rabbi Yoshua ben Hyrcanus. Okay? Lo avad Iyov at the Kadosh Baruch Hu, ela me ahava. That the Iyov worshipped the Kadosh Baruch Hu out of love. Okay? Shene'amar, as it says, hein yiktaleni lo iyachem. Okay? Even as if he were to kill me, so to speak, I would
Still
I would
desire.
still
Never give
I
up
would
on you.
I would
Never give
I
up.
would still desire, I would still be close to Hashem. Okay? Va'adayin hadavar shakulo. But still the question of what was his I want to say motivation, his psychology,
Question.
okay, it was
Like
in
a
limbo,
balance.
in limbo. Okay? Why? Ani mitzapeh, o ani mitzapeh, o eini mitzapeh. Okay, am I moving towards this, close, anticipate to be out of love or out of fear?
Here.
Okay, Talmud Loma. Why? But we have another passage that says, Ad egva lo asur tomati mimeni. Okay, again, that seems to imply, even with death, he would not remove himself from Hashem. Milamed shemei ahava asa. This would come to tell us that if he says he's willing to give up even his life, it must show that of his love of Hashem. Okay? Amar Rabbi Yoshua. Rabbi Yoshua responds again. Mi yigle afar me'enecha Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai. Again, who would remove the dust from your eyes, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai? Shahayita doresh kol yomecha, that you used to again expound as follows. Shalo avad Iyov et hamakom ela miyirah. That according to your expositions, Job basically worshipped Hashem out of awe, of fear. Okay? Shne'amar ishtam v'yashar yorei Elohim v'sar meira, where the pasuk specifically spells out his fear of Hashem. V'halo Yehoshua talmidcha lamed shemei ahava asa. But here, don't we have that Yehoshua ben Hyrcanus, the student of your student? Okay? In other words,
Rabbi Akiva's
since he was Rabbi Akiva's Talmud and not a direct Talmud of Yochanan ben Zakkai, has taught that as also out of love. And we'll stop, as I said, right there at the Gemara, and we'll pick that up tomorrow. Okay?
Thank you, Rabbi Green.
Okay. All right.
Oh, what are you laughing
Kenny, want tea?
No, thank you. I'm going to go home
at? Have a great day.
go home